Hello, today's video is called Ford was in contact with Trudeau. Today was day 21st of the public inquiry to the federal government for invoking the Emergency Act on February 2022. Today is November 10, 2022. The agenda for today is overview, today's witnesses, and my point of view. We are doing the daily summary of the testimonies in the inquiry that seeks to understand if Justin Castro had valid reasons to invoke the Emergency Act on February of this year and if the powers used by the federal government exceeded the scope granted by the Act. Based on these findings, the lead commissioner will put forward a recommendation, both English and French, by February of 2023. This is not a trial, and as we discussed yesterday, I don't even think this is an inquiry. All my videos can be found on YouTube, Lisa Bruce Research, as well as my own website, lisabruceresearch.com. And here is a link where you can see live the feed of all these testimonies as well as previous sessions. Today we had two witnesses, and before we started, we had the lead commissioner finally acknowledging what happened yesterday, and he used the word indisposed. No, he was not indisposed. He actually fainted in camera. There was likely nothing serious. So one of the most important things I have learned through my many years in business is how you're not supposed to use words that are inaccurate. So when I say it was too high or it was too low, I was always being told, no, by how much? 20%, 50%, etc. So words like these, it's just very imprecise. To me, it's a form of lying. That's just me. He's expected to make a quick recovery. Expected, what does that mean? And then he's finished his sentences saying, with this introduction and reassurance, we can go on to the next witness. So who has been reassured? Not me. First witness was Marlan Degrand. He's the RCMP from Alberta. I like this witness. I think that he was being forward. He was being very clear. And he actually said that the act was not required. So obviously it was interesting because the whole setup is to try to prove that the act was required. I don't think there is any inquiry happening. And there was a couple of questions that I'm showing here. Explain the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act. It allows for the police in the province to deal with matters of intrusions or affecting the operation of critical infrastructure to the province. And is there a need to invoke the act to use it? No. It is an everyday tool for policing in Alberta, such as the Criminal Act, who can enforce any police service, either sheriff or RCMP, in the jurisdiction. So just for your information, I just learned this today. Any type of municipality that has less than 500 people, it will go into the RCMP jurisdiction and their sheriffs. But if there's any type of policing needs, then you can either hire the RCMP, or in this case, they get involved and they are the ultimate authority, and under that direction, everything will take place. Second witness, I don't even have words to express how disturbing this was. Mario Di Tommaso, Deputy Solicitor General, Ontario. This was the person who was recalled from when the lawyer fainted yesterday. So he was recalled for the direct examination, which was never finished. And again, here, they're going to try to keep on proving that the act was required. Very disturbing man, very cold, very odd, lots of blinking. I'll talk about that in a minute. Very dead stare all the time. I've never seen anyone so cold in my life. So the question was, did you have a discussion with Deputy Minister Stewart? No, but I don't know if Carrick discussed this with Loki. So remember that Loki is the highest person in the RCMP. So you can see how there's a lot of laziness, in my opinion, because he's supposed to understand what is happening within the scope of this whole operation. Remember that Carrick, who we already saw on the stand, he actually reports to this man. So, and this man reports to the minister. So was it helpful? Obviously talking about the Emergency Act to solve the Ottawa and Windsor situation, and how so? Yes, because it provided the ability to tow vehicles and other objects blocking the roadways, and immediately allowed the suspension of licenses, and the police could remove vehicles themselves. The question that I'm going to show that shows, in my opinion, how lazy this man is. Prior to February 10, were there conditions for declaring the Emergency Act? His answer was, an analysis would have to be done to confirm the conditions that would have been met, but it wasn't done. I have no words. On the 10th, the Premier, he's talking about Ford, signaled that he was going to declare it. So you can see how he didn't do his job, and then when somebody else called it for it, he's just supporting it without any work from his end. It was then the turn of the government of Canada. Again, we keep on going with the same objective. And one thing that I've noticed across a lot of these examinations is the fact that they are leading the witness. And I spoke about this because in a court of law, that is completely inadmissible. You're not supposed to ask questions that have yes and no answers. That's a closed question. And again, we're trying to understand what happened. That's the meaning of the word inquiry. This is not an inquiry. This is leading the witness. There was a moment on which definitely, I don't like when they use words like volatile, because it's just very inflammatory. And you would agree that this was inflammatory and was evolving quickly. Yes, they were volatile. So you can see how she's placing words in his mouth, leading the witness is just very, very wrong in a court of law. And then here, this is the title of the video. He said that in February 9, he knew that Ford was in contact with Trudeau, and I had no discussions with Ford. So what is he doing? What is his role? And again, if you have time, go today and look at him on the stand. He's the most cold person. His stare was really odd. His blinking rate was off the charts. The biggest contradiction of this whole inquiry we're about to see. And the Ottawa councillor, this man is so annoying to me. He's very aggressive, randomly, fights with the lead commissioner again today, fought because the lead commissioner said, your time is up. You had 20 minutes. And he said, well, I have 20 minutes. And yes, that's what I told you. You have 20 minutes and 20 minutes have gone by. He's just fighting with everyone, fought with the witness. And then there was a question on which he said, his name is Paul. Paul said to Mario, the vaccine across the border was the issue of the protesters. And then the answer from Mario was, well, that was the main issue. There were many other issues as communicated by Carrick. And his words were, many groups infiltrated the convoy and many agendas at play. I'm asking you, who's listening to my video, would it make you create a follow-up question if you truly were seeking the truth? The first thing I would say is, what do you mean many groups were infiltrated? What type of groups? What do you mean by that? No question about it. And then this man, Mario, was saying, well, the federal government doesn't have a role in the mandates. These are from the provinces. Well, then why is Trudeau going to testify but not Ford? If the federal government has nothing to say, why is he coming? But the premier of the province is not coming. So you can see immediately, I'm literally losing interest in this whole thing. It's just a lot of lies. And in real life, lies really trigger me. So to sit down here so many hours per day listening at these people lying is extremely difficult. Also because I understand a little bit about the structure that a court of law should have, leading a witness and also seeing all these other people that are with open charges being crucified on this process with subpoenas and no defense lawyers is very, very hard for me to watch. At 5:03 today, the question was, is this protocol on confidential board meeting normal? So they're talking about the fact that they were sharing confidential information back and forth through text. So the question was, is this protocol on confidential board meeting the norm? And he said yes, but then he shook his head saying no, and then he made this face of disgust and contempt. So he is just constantly lying. His blink rate was over 60 times per minute, and average is about 12, maximum 15 per minute. So he's blinking 5 times higher than the norm. And that typically is associated with stress and or lying. I'm not an expert in body language, but obviously there was something really odd about him, and his whole demeanor was very, very disturbing. This is not a trial, as you all know. It's not an inquiry. That's how I see it. This man is the layer that is protecting Ford because he is going to be the advisor to the minister, and Ford is protected by his parliamentary status, and he's not going to come to this inquiry. So obviously, as we established yesterday, this inquiry does not seek to understand. This is a formality, and the objective is to scare those of us who seek freedom and to set an example so we will be crushed if we contradict the orders of the government, which obviously I don't intend to do. So remember that yesterday we went through the words of the oath of the Prime Minister, and we are crystal clear about where his allegiance is, who he's faithful to, who he's serving, not us. It's clear here. And most importantly, that one of the statements of his oath is that he will keep secrets from us. Not good. Thank you for listening.